Hey everyone, and welcome to the Town of Seymour's annual State of the Town. We say annual because it will be the first annual State of the Town we've actually done because we haven't done this in quite some time. But I figured now was a good time to let everybody know where the town stands, what our future looks like, and some of the initiatives we have going forward. Some of the things that we're going to be speaking about today are reviewing the town's annual financial process. Basically, how do we do our budget? What are the plans that we use to do our process of the budget? What's the foundation built on? What's the mill rate? How does it affect me? How do we spend our money? Why is Seymour's economic development different than our surrounding communities? What future initiatives we have in the town? And what makes Seymour the place to be? So, without any further ado, let's get on to the small town with a big heart. So we'll start with the budget process. A lot of people think that, the budget process is basically from when the Board of Finance starts meeting in February to May and June when we vote on it. That's not actually true. Even after we vote on our budget and the budget passes May, June timeframe, come our new fiscal year, July 1, we're actually looking at the budget for next year to see what we need to do, where we need to be, what we could do without, or where we need to put more money. This budget is a 12-month process, actually, not just a 3-month. But we'll start going through the steps. So we really started beginning to meet in November. We come together, we tell everybody you need to have your budget ready for us. We have our summit meeting in January. And in January, we start going through the department needs and requests and their wants, just like a Christmas list that our kids give us. Some of our kids are younger, some of our kids are in college that give us much bigger lists, but that's what we sit there and say, yeah, no, go back and redo it before you have to present it to the Board of Finance. So that's when we have the Board of Finance workshops. The Board of Finance workshops are held February through March because we need to have a budget ready by the end of April to present to the residents in May and June to vote. We say June because June is actually the last time we can vote on a budget because we have to have a fiscal budget by July 1. And in order for the tax bills, we have to have it set by June 16th. That's why we said in the past 3 times after the 3rd time we set it so that we can have the tax bills ready for the residents. So in the budget workshops, which are held Monday and Wednesdays through the Board of Finance, that is when each department head gives their budget to the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance workshops are open to the public. As you may or may not remember, I did a couple of them Facebook Live last year. We're hoping that we have people live in the audience for them this year. So once the department presents their budgets to each department members, I then present my budget. I'm the last one to present my budget to the Board of Finance. I present to them a budget which I think is a fair budget. They then take, per our town charter, the budget that I presented, as well as all the other department heads, and they come up with the number in a mill rate. They may not like my budget. They have not liked my budget for the past 3 years. So we've had been talks about that, but then they go and they set the mill rate. They, being the Board of Finance, they set the mill rate and the tax number. It may be close to mine. It may not be close to mine. Then April 1st, no less than 30 days from our annual town meeting, from our proposed draft due date, we have a town meeting. The town meeting is for the residents to come and say, yes, we agree with this. You could put it forward to vote, or no, it's too high and you need to shrink it. Then the Board of Finance then has to go back before April 10th, and they have to have a budget. We have to have a budget hearing. So the budget hearing, not to be confused with the annual town meeting. The annual town meeting has to be no later than May 1st. We have our town meeting. We have to have 50 people quorum, which means 50 electors of the town, basically 50 people who are able to vote in the town of Seymour to move our budget forward. There's a special Board of Selectmen meeting the night of the annual town meeting. It's where all the Board of Select members are there, department heads are there, as well as our Board of Finance members are there. We then say this is final. It's going to referendum. The referendum is where we first all go to vote. Everybody votes for the budget at the community center. Once again, everyone votes for the budget at the community center. The way our town is, we vote on a town budget and we vote on a Board of Education budget. Our budget is broken into two places, okay? If the first town budget fails and the Board of Ed budget, or one or both fail, there is a second referendum. I just want to put in that the referendums do cost the town. That's not any way to say that you must vote for or not vote, but that was a question that was asked of us in the last couple of past years. Each referendum costs us about $5,000. So we try to get the budget right on the first try. So the town hearing is the last say, where the town residents have to tell the Board of Finance, no, we want it lower. Besides a budget workshop, the town hearing is the absolute last time. Then we go to our annual town meeting on May 1st, actually no later than May 1st, and from there we hold our special town meeting, and then we go to referendum to vote. Once again, all referendums are done at the community center. All voting is done at the community center. It's where we vote on both budgets. What plans do we use to do this process? Whether it's running the department, the day-to-day, or our budget. The town is very proactive, so let's take a look at a couple of the plans that we have in place. So let's look at our capital improvement plan. Each year we set aside $300,000 in our capital improvement, and that is for each department to go through to see what they need. Right now we're looking at the capital improvement from this last budget. We also show our state and federal grants, any state and federal grants money that we see, and that includes our LoCIP and LOTCIP funding, any road project money that we may receive. Each year we ask each department to go through, as they said, what they would like. So if you look at the DPW, we looked at a 2024 Chevy 550 cab chassis, 2024, 2025 budget was $67,000. As you see, there's nothing going forward. But in 26, 27, we're looking at replacing a large body dump, and that goes into 28 and 29 because we have a 3-year plan with our cars vehicle in our Department of Public Works. We're trying to replace before they start getting us costly, and if we can reuse the body, then we reuse the body. If we can reuse the engine, we'll reuse the engine. All right. So if you look down, you'll go see or replace engine 11, replace engine 15, rescue 17, refurbish, the replenish the Ford F-350 utility truck. Every year it goes out. We have a 5-year truck plan. I believe is what we're having the fire department do, as well as our DPW, as well as our turf field for the high school. We know 2027, 2028, we have to replace that turf field. It's only good for X amount of years, and the town and the Board of Ed are to put money away, and if we don't have enough money, then we look to go out for some bonding from the state to get some state money. We also look at the PD department for dashboard cameras. This is recording its requirement under the legislations that we have dashboard cams, the community center bus, as well as our IT, the failover cluster replacement. We are looking forward. This is how I said earlier before, we are being proactive instead of being reactive because we're planning out the years going forward to see where we're going to need the money and how much money we need to save to get there. So let's look at our road plan. What I'm going to show you is what we have done over the last 15 years. Color maps of the roads are going to show you what year they were done in. Our plan for moving forward as far as potholes, line striping, and curbing. The different funding options that we receive from the town, from the state, and the single versus double lines, aka I live in the country, why do I have a double line in front of my house? So here's a road plan and drainage, and as you can see, there's a road name, the road section, the grade, C, just like our report cards, right? The CDs, the Cs, the Bs, go from there. If there's drainage improvements needed, are there going to be sidewalks, the length that we need to do, how much it's going to cost, and the cumulative cost. So let's take the LoCIP funding. Bungie Road, West Church Street, the one we're always talking about, right? We got LoCIP funding for that. That's going to cost over $6.5 million just to do that whole road, and we're hoping that road starts in January. Botsford Road is also included in it. We wanted to go for Clinton Road as well as Pearl Street, but we cannot do Clinton Road or Pearl Street until the Bungay West Church Street Botsford Road is completed, because we can do one and have one in the hopper. So that would be next. In 2024, Seymour Avenue was widened with some minor drainage improvements. Tibbetts Road, we just did that one. That was $49,000 that we received money to do. So as you can see, we're going through and we're looking and stating what roads have to be done. As we said, the road plan is on our website, so you can go and look at it. If you disagree with your road, please come see us in January or at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, and we will let Brian Nesteriak know, and we'll have him go out there and look. We have had him go out there to look at a couple of roads, and he says, yep, we'll move that up from a C or downgrade it to a D, so we can have that looked at. So figure 2 is the roads. The green is exceptional, blue is a B, it means it's good, pink is mediocre, D is poor, and F, of course, is failing, and purple is, of course, the state roads. So as you can see, those are the roads, and this is updated as of October 2024. The recommending of crack sealing and filling roadway, Woodside Avenue, all of it has to be done. It's about 1,000 square feet. So there is a list that we're crack sealing. We're not just driving down roads saying, oh, this road needs to be crack sealed, oh, that road needs to be crack sealed. There's a road that our town engineer has gone through all our roads, and he has a list of bad to good, bad being done first and then good. So there is a plan for the third contractor to come in and do these things. So the pink, the road crack sealing was done in 2017. In the blue, it was done 2018. If it was done in green, it was done in 2019. Orange, 2020, and purple, 2023, and red is what we propose to do this year. It will take us such a long time to get right back to where the pink roads were done, because there's so much work that needs to be done. We didn't really start the road work here in Seymour until, as we said, 15 years ago. That's when we really started doing the roads. We had gone out for, I believe it was a $20 million bond to start doing the roads, and we just ran out of the money. So we're going to have to go back for more bonding money to continue our roads. That's why we just can't keep going back to the same road over and over. You may have moved here 5 years ago, but your road may have been done before those 5 years. So you may start seeing the wearing down of the road. But Brian from B&B Engineering is on top of that. This is the road striping. So why did your road go from a single yellow to a double? Well, there is no such thing as a single line. Everything has to be doubled line under the transportation laws. So every road must have a double line on it, whether we live in the country or we live in the busy part of the town. When I get the phone calls that say, well, I live on a country road, somebody who lived down south, a country road is a dirt road. So there are no country roads here in Seymour. We love the country setting, but by law we have to have the double line to help the police officers determine if there's an accident as to who's on fault, as well as to help the new drivers or drivers decipher what side of the road they're on. This is the striping map. In orange starts for 2019 is when we started the striping. Green was done in 2020, pink was done in 21, blue was 22, red was 23, and purple is proposed for 2024. As you can see, there's still some roads that need to be done, so those will be called out for 2025. So how do we track our results? Having a good plan is great. Having a map is great, but if you don't follow it, you're not going to get to where you need to be, and you're not going to see the results. So how do we track our results? So here's our Seymour strategic planning for 2024. It's about creating habits. When I was speaking when I do my lives, I'm always asked, oh, where's our strategic plan? Is it online? Can I get a copy of it? We have it. We just have to make it available for everybody. So we start with goal setting. What's our specifics? How are we going to measure it? Is it attainable? Is it relevant? Is it time-bound? All goals should be attainable and achievable, just like our own personal goals, right? So 100% of the content is updated, or 50% of it, by the 12/21 version of the plan document. 100% of it is a first select woman's goal tied to the senior staff goals. So what the first select person sets goals, what their goals are, what they want their goals to be while they're in office. And then it's directed to our senior staff. Our senior staff is the paid department heads that are in charge of the departments: IT, building department, public works department, what we want to see done in the town. So it's then given to the senior staff for them to do. Then at our staff meetings every month, we are asked, where are you with certain goals? Chief Administrative Officer meets down with every department head, and he goes over their goals and after the staff meeting to see if they're not achieving it, how he can help them achieve it, or what is needed. So we'll take it by operations. Electronic recording of town documents. We want it to be that somebody in our building department or the permit contractors be able to go on a Saturday night, we hire a contractor, he can file the permit online, pay the fee online, and he can start working the next day or that Monday if need be. So we're hoping by the end of this year, beginning first quarter 2025, that all permits for land use and planning and zoning are filed online. We want to extend the tax payment, so that's being worked on. Extend property tax payment scheduled twice a year. That's already done. But now what we have done at Town Hall is instead of one car tax payment, it's now 2 tax payment. So that goal is already set. Ability to accept digital payment for landfill. At the transfer station, we are taking cards, debit card or credit card, and we're also looking at Venmo to get Venmo or PayPal up there. So we're starting to come into the next century, right? Hire the needed staff in the finance. We did that. Accounts payable. We moved somebody. We hired our blight and ZEO person. The PD has their records clerk because they had somebody resign. And maintain, update all municipal websites. We are in the process of updating all our websites to get them up to date to this century and to make sure that they're easily accessible as well as readable. Cost savings, we looked at a shared service expansion between us and the Board of Ed. Regionalization of emergency services, we looked into that. It's really not possible with the fire department because we want to make sure that our fire departments can get to us in the response time. An EV charger is at the fish ladder. There's 2 of them, and it is going to be user pay. Currently, it's still on the town to pay it, but it's being switched over that who's ever using it needs to pay. We're looking at the assorted properties. The Housatonic Wire was sold. Seymour Lumber was sold. The Trestle Tavern, they're working it up. So we're starting to take actions on lots and buildings that were empty and holding the property owners accountable and not making them, because we can't make them do something, but holding their feet to the fire as far as blight-wise, as far as taxes-wise. So we're starting to come down on abandoned homeowners, property, as well as commercial. Quality of life. We have expanded public parking access with the 165 Main Street. The community center, we have usable space there. We're looking at the 3rd floor to make that more usable space. We're looking at putting an outdoor movie theater for the residents, free monthly movie theaters at the community center to be done outdoors, enhancing our open space. Chatfield Park also has an all abilities park there. Soccerins, we're looking at lighting the pond as well as the dog park. Expanding our trail use, we have been speaking to Regional Water Authority over at the Keith Mitchell Forest, expanding on our walking and hiking trails up there. As we all know, we're looking at the Bungay School update, which is much needed. We have the Main Street beautification, which I know our town engineer had a meeting last week, and that process should be taking place with the beautification and the sidewalks in the downtown area, probably in the springtime. In the community center, we have a bigger bus, which allows our schools to use them when we have to transport for a field trip to the community center, not to the community center, sorry, to the historical society. The community bus transported, no, they did not transport the fourth graders. But if we have to bring the school students somewhere, we have the Veolia wastewater, they can bring them there. So we're allowing the school to use the community bus. All they have to do is have the CDL driver, or we have the CDL driver. We're working cohesively and we're working together so that we're saving costs. The environment, we found that we have not one, but 2 anaerobic digesters at the WPCA. So we're looking at one to potentially use that for composting down the road. Then that goes into the composting program, pollinator program, and we're rehabbing the Great Hill Dam rehab at the Keith Marshall Forest. These are some of the actions at the community center. We looked at putting a pavilion outdoors. We did development need, we couldn't get the money to do it. But we did remove the backstop in the seed field. Once we realized we were not able to put the pavilion in the outdoor seating, that's when we said, well, what can we do about it? In the summertime, we use it for our backpack scavenger hunt that we do in the downtown area in August, back to school. But now what we're also going to be using it for is our drive-in movie theater. So we have the transmitter so the cars can pull up either in the summer, fall, winter, and just listen to it on your radio like we do when we drive by Mountain Road lights. And you can either have your air conditioning on, you can sit outside, you could sit in the warm car, but it's just something for the residents to do that doesn't cost them anything. Increase our senior center membership, which we did. I see there's a misspelling in the center. Explore new parks and recreation software, which they did. Increase grant funding. We have gotten more grants this year than we have received in any year going forward, and that's on the Board of Ed side as well as the town side. Any house is only as strong as its foundation. So what is our foundation built on? So financials, where do we stand? We have always strived to maintain a strong financial position. Standard & Poor's is the one that gives us our bond rating. The town is currently at a AA-. The highest rating you can get is a AA+. Government of Finance Officers of America, the GFOA, we have received in the past, 13 years, we've received, over the past 13 years, I should say, maybe the past 5 years, we've received awards and recognition for financial outstanding, and we're looking to go for that again this year. Going back to the Standard & Poor, they want to see us investing in ourselves to make sure we are doing what is right by our town and growing. The current bond rating now, as I stated, is a AA-, and the strongest you can have is a AA+. We have a strong fund balance. We are at our level that we need to be. Our debt service is where we need to be. We could actually go a little bit higher, but we don't want to. The OPED Trust Fund, we are continuing to put money in, and what the OPED Trust Fund is, it's God forbid there is money, we have an emergency, there is money there that could run our town if our fund balance could not. And our capital asset management, those are our buildings, those are our investments. Our biggest assets, if we ask the school, our biggest assets are our children. On us, it's our residents, but it's really our buildings. Our buildings are our business, our biggest assets, financial biggest assets. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And we have to continually invest in our buildings, invest in our assets, our fire trucks, our police department, our cars, and so forth. And the guidelines are reviewed every 5 years, fiscally 5 years, and next ones are due in 2026. What makes a strong community financially? Investing in our children, investing in our schools, investing in our business, growing businesses, having the businesses that are in town continually grow as they are in the industrial park, and people wanting to build in Seymour, which is happening. Okay, let's talk about fund balance. So your fund balance is like your savings account. We use it in case of an emergency for things that may have happened that aren't planned for in our budget or called out in our capital plan that we discussed earlier. The flooding we just had, tornadoes, we need something due to an emergency, It's our savings account, just like our home savings account. We are striving to have our fund balance 10% of our budget appropriations. If we fall below 8%, it's going to require the finance department and the board of finance, with the acceptance of the board of select persons, to adopt a plan to replenish it. Once again, remember I said we can't spend money, we can't move money around unless it goes in front of the board of select persons and in front of the board of finance to get their approval. So no, at any time we can never move money around without the board of finance's approval. Okay, so on the next slide we're going to look at our fund balance sheets. So you see, going again back to 2013 to 2023, we started at 8.44 and we've gone up, which is great. Then we hit a little snag in 22. We had to go down a little bit. That's, COVID was here. We had a little bit of an issue where we had to cover some health insurance finances, so we had to take it out of there. But as you can see, our fund balance is very strong. We're almost at that 10%. We strive to be at that 10%. We're at 9.23 for 2023. We're still in the budget year 24-25. As soon as our audit is done, we'll know where we are for 2024. But as you can see, we are still strong financially, as we've always been. Great, let's talk about our debt service policy now. So the town of Seymour has a debt service policy. Our debt service policy is that we maintain a debt ratio between 5 and 7% of our overall budget. Overall budget being the town budget, as well as the Board of Education budget. Okay, so what is the debt service? Debt service is anything that we're borrowing, anything that we owe. We borrow to do our roads. We borrow to buy fire trucks. We borrow to improve our schools. We may borrow to improve our buildings, air conditioning, new furnaces, what may have you. So that is what our debt would be, right? We're borrowing against it, and we can't go, we have to be between 5 and 7, once again, of our overall budget in which the town votes on. We have to make sure that it's prudent to our debt management, meaning I'm not going to go buy a computer and lease it for 30 years when I know it's really only going to be good for 3 to 5 years. Our debt has to be, that we're taking against, has to be equal to what we're borrowing it against. Our roads don't have to be done every year, so we can borrow long term over that. Fire trucks, normally good for 20 years. Police cars, we don't really borrow over that, but we put that into our budget. We may borrow for some heavy duty equipment that we may have to get, and as long as that borrowing goes against the life expectancy of the equipment or what we're doing with it, then we're being prudent. But overall, we should never go above 7 and we should never below 5, because S&P, as I stated before, wants to see the town investing in itself, investing in our roads, investing in our buildings, investing in our residents, investing in our children. Let's take a look at our projected debt services, 2026 to 2036. Into the future we go. So, 2026 we start off at 5.13, 2036 we're down to 4.24. Between the 5 and 7 we want, and this is why we want to pay down our debt services, so that we can continue to invest in our town, as we said S&P wants to see. We pay down our debt services, we have money to improve, we have money to make the improvements, we have the money to make the investments that are needed. That is why we have all these plans in place. What is our mill rate, and how does it affect us, the resident? How does it affect us as business owners? How does it affect us as taxpayers? All right, so our annual property tax. As you can see, this is the breakdown of our property tax, the annual tax increases that we have, the percentage in the mill rate, going all the way back to 2013. Our mill rate, we start back at 32.83. We go up, 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 we go up. We come down, right? And then we start to even out. We stayed at 2017 to 2020, we kind of stayed even, right? 36 mills. Then we went down in 2022 to make up for the assessment that was done in 2021. And then in 2023, we went up to 35.9, 35.9, 36.84. But as you can see, the percentage of tax increase, 3, 2, 3, 0.72, 0.33, 0.86, kind of crazy years. Everything was calm. Then 1 point, 0.54, big increase in 2022, 4.5, 5.56, then to 1.7. This year, everybody got we had our assessments done per the state saying that we had to do it in year 4 as opposed to year 5. We got our assessments in. Last assessment was done pre-COVID. As we all know, the housing market skyrocketed during COVID and still after COVID due to everybody wanting to move out of apartments, due to people moving out of state and moving into Connecticut. So the housing market has risen, and the prices in Seymour have not gone down. So we had our assessments in, and to say that some of us were sticker shocked by the amount of our assessments, not believing it. Going on to Zillow, I didn't believe it myself, so I did mine, and my assessment was actually accurate. So sitting down with our tax assessor, the fill-in for the tax assessor, Tara, I said, well, where are we, with the amount that has gone up? Residential went up 44.35, and the commercial went up 45.8. So you can see by the 44.35, some people went up, some people stayed the same, some people actually went down. So what we do is that's our grand list. Those assessments, that's our grand list, and we take our grand list and we back it into our budget. So we could only spend and ask for the amount of money that we need to spend. So if I took my assessment and I did the mill rate, from the past mill rate to the new assessment, I'd be paying almost double my taxes, right? But now what we have to do is say, okay, this is our grand list, back it into our budget to get the new mill rate. Our mill rate will be going down most likely into the mid-20s, between 25 and 27, somewhere around there. So it will be going down. Is Seymour growing? Yes, as we bring in more businesses are growing. The businesses in the industrial park are continuing to invest in themselves. When they're investing, they're getting bigger. We actually have no more room in our industrial park, so we're actually looking for more land because businesses do want to come to Seymour. It's just finding the property. And I know everybody's like, ooh, Tri-Town, but we can't force stuff into Tri-Town because it's personal, private property. We could do other things. We're trying to work with Mr. Spector, who leases the property, and we're hoping things come from there. We have more builders wanting to come in to build housing on some vacant property lots that are for sale. We have the people that own Seymour Lumber, Housatonic, but that gets taken care of in economic development. Let's get back to the mill rate. Sorry. So on our mill rate, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Our taxes always should be staying the same with little bit increases. Cost of living, we should never see more than a 3% increase in our taxes, and that's all around. Currently, last year's budget was a 1.7. The year before that was a 1.56. So again, our 36.84 mill rate should be going down. If you look at the property taxes collected, 25, we're looking at 49,404,155. Of course, we'll be higher than that with this new grand list. So the mill rate would be going down. As long as our taxes stay in between 1 and 2, we should be good. How do we spend our money? Where are we spending our money? How are we saving our money? Let's take a look. So where did we spend our money? 24, 25. So this is a 2025 total budget. As you see, the Board of Education is 60%. This year's Board of Ed budget was $39,768,781. But remember, what drives your community to grow is a good school system. And when we invest in our school system, we're showing people that we're investing in our community. And that's what brings businesses in, and that's what brings people into your town, because they know that you're investing in your schools, you're caring about your residents, you're caring about the children, and businesses want to see a good school system, because then their employers move into the town with their children. The debt services is 5%, other is 1%. General government, DPW, sanitation, this is where our Department of Public Works, our trash that we take out, our recycling, paychecks, road salt, MERS, the municipal employment retirement fund is, our health insurance all comes out of there. Public safeties, 10%. Utilities in town buildings is 1%. Community services 2%. And employee benefits is 8%. So Anne Marie, what does that all come down to, right? Well, general and DPW and sanitation government expenditures were $8,715,192 from this year's budget. Public safety and the town expenditures was $6,366,325. Utilities for the government buildings, which do not include the schools, is $1,010,988. Sorry. The community services and town expenditures are $1,382,455. Town government employee benefits, this is our health insurance, and our MERS is $5,124,9. Sorry. Board of Education, as we stated, their budget is $39,768,781. Senior citizens tax relief, we have $50,000 in there, and the $50,000 was a circuit breaker program that the state of Connecticut put in. And at first they were giving us the $50,000, and they mandated that it be done, and then it's a mandate that they're continuing that we do, but they're not giving us any money for it. So there's only $50,000 in there, but we're looking at the 25-26 budget to put more money into the senior center relief. So exactly how much, I'm not quite sure, but that will be discussed. Our capital fund, as I said, we know I put $300,000 in. Last year we only put $225,000 in it. In our contingency fund, we put $140,000 in, whereas the year before we put $273,000 because we took some out to help offset some cost of a tax relief in the prior years. So with that, that was a 3.37 increase. So that's where the money goes. And how do we know that that's really where the money is going? You know, Anne Marie, you say that's where the money is going, but how do we really know that? You really know that when you look at the Board of Selectmen meetings, the Board of Finance meetings, and there's transfers. So anything that the town has to move to say we didn't put enough money in or we took something out of there that we shouldn't have, has to have a transfer. And all 7 of us, 7 Board of Select persons, have to agree on transferring that money from either one department or one line item. And it has to go in front of the Board of Finance. And the Board of Finance wants an explanation as to why. Same thing on the police commission, on the Board of Police Commissioners. If the police chief needs to move money, it has to go in front of the commissioners, and then it has to go in front of the Board of Selectmen. Same thing with the Department of Public Works, the library, any town department. As far as the Board of Education goes, it goes through the Finance Committee, the Business Manager, and the Board of Ed. It doesn't go into the Board of Finance at all. The only time anything goes in for the Board of Finance is when we have to pay bills for them. So let's look at the Board of Education funding. As you can see, again, this slide goes back all the way to 2013 to 2025, this year's budget. So if you look back, the percentage, the annual percentage increases range from anywhere from 2.02 to literally 0.06 to the 5.27 and the 4.22. Those large jumps, those are when, we can talk, there was a health insurance, miscalculation on the health insurance, as well as hiring to bring in new teachers. People are moving in after COVID, after 2020, people are moving in, and the state says if you have X amount of students in your school, I believe the number is 20, then you need to have that speak another language besides English. You have to have an English as a second language teacher. And we are on the cusp of having to hire another one for another school, so we have to bring those in. The new substitute teachers, permanent substitute teachers for the schools that they wanted were in 2025. The English as a second language, special ed costs, the state cut us on special ed costs. Transportation was another one. So we see that's why in 2025 it went up. 2023, that was when the miscalculations of the health insurance came in, and our finance manager, Sal Bucci, actually the business manager, not the finance manager, Sal Bucci, that's where he found that error. So those really were the two big jumps for the Board of Education. Otherwise, you can see 2, 2.5 are about average, and that is what we are averaging as a community in the surrounding community. Some communities don't even give that. So I think we're giving we're giving the appropriations that they're asking. Percentage of the overall budget, we've gone from 58.42 in 2013, and it goes up every year. 2023 it went down to 59 from the previous year to 59.68. Then it went down 59.44, but then it jumped up to almost 60%, 59.93 of our budget. So again, by continuing to invest in our schools, we're investing in our children, we're investing in people wanting to move here, we're investing in businesses to come in, and it's bringing the property values up. Okay, first select woman's staff, or the first select person's staff, right? So we have the residents of the town of Seymour and the first select woman. I am accountable to all the residents in the town of Seymour, just as my staff is accountable to me. Okay? So the assistant to the first select person. Well, what does that person do? That person is answering the phones in the front office. They're setting my calendar. They're making the appointments. They're making appointments either on the phone to meet with other town officials, other businesses, or residents. Okay? Our town council handles all our legal. Our emergency services, our police department, our fire department, the ambulance, as well as emergency management. The police department, the chief actually reports to the Board of Police Commissioners. So if there's an issue with the roads, if there's an issue with the stop sign, if there's issues with the buses blowing a stop sign or cars blowing by the buses, we go right to the police department because that's what they handle. Fire department is in charge of handling emergencies, fires, car accidents. Seymour ambulance, they respond to the emergency calls. Emergency management, well, we know what emergency management has done through this flood, right? Chief administrative officer handles all the staff except for the finance department. We have the finance director, the human resource director, and economic development and grants. They report to me directly. Okay? So again, accountable to the residents. My assistant comes to me, and the finance director. The finance director is in charge of the town hall floater, which we've had this position open, we never fill it. The town clerk and their assistant. The tax assessor and their assistant. And if there was an assistant office clerk, which would fall under the floater, the tax collector, the assistant tax collector, the accounting manager, the accounting aide, and our payroll and benefits coordinator. They all report to the finance director, who reports directly to me. Now on to the operations. We have myself, accountable to the residents, my assistant, the chief administrative officer, who formal name was a chief of staff, but now the chief administrative officer also meets with the department heads and works on special projects. Okay? So director of land use, which is our town planner, our land use boards, the development of enforcement assistant, code enforcement, and blight. So basically it's land use, building code, and blight, and planning and zoning. We have the building department, the chief building official, and the building aide. They're the ones that you're calling with the permits, to get the permits or to get onto the planning and zoning. Our town engineer works directly with our director of land use and code, as well as the chief administrative officer. We have our library director, That person's in charge of the library, and she reports to the library commission. The assistant head library, the library full-time staff, and any part-time staff and pages report directly to the chief administrative officer. Director of Community Services, which is our community center and our senior center, the community assistant service assistant, Parks Rec manager, the senior service programmer, the coordinator, and the municipal agent all report to the Director of Community Services. So if you want to know what's going on at the community center, if you want to know what's going on with a rec program, if you want to know what's going on in the senior center, you would contact the community center directly. Okay? Director of Information Technology, that is our IT director. They're in charge of all our computer systems. They're in charge of all the IT programs that we may have, security, any software programs, any updating that may be done. They're in charge of that. Director of Operation oversees the manager of operations and grants, our Public Works Director, and our Facilities Director. Public Works Director oversees everything that happens with Public Works. Potholes, road work that needs to be done, plowing of the roads, cutting of the grass. Our Public Works Department does it all. Any issues with the Public Works, you go see them, okay? Facilities Director is in charge of the maintenance of our buildings, from every town building to the school buildings. He's in charge of all the town hall custodians as well as the school custodians, okay? Human Resources. Our Human Resource Director is in charge of all the employees in the town of Seymour, from the Board of Education to the police department, the library, the community center, and the town hall building. If a department needs an employee, they have to go through the HR director. The HR director will sit down and say, what do you need? He posts the ads. He and a committee he puts together do all the interviews. Okay? An economic development and grant, that is a consultant, that is not a full-time position here in Town Hall. So what makes Seymour the place to be? Seymour's home. A community is home. Anybody can live in a town, anybody can live in a city, municipality, call it what you want. But Seymour is a home. It's where we all come together at the end of the day for one another, to help, to support, to cheer, to hug. That is what Seymour is about, helping each other and being there for one another. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did, showing what Seymour has to offer and why it is the place to be. Thank you for your time. I hope this presentation answered a lot of the questions you may have had. If more questions came up, please do not hesitate to contact me. You can reach me at Town Hall through phone number 203-888-2511 or via email adragonis@seymourct.org, or stop in and come and see me. My staff and I are always here to help, to explain, and to guide you in the right way. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a great rest of 2024, and we'll see you around.